Okay, so today we're taking a deep dive into Yvonne's leadership development.
Sounds intriguing.
It is. We've got a really interesting mix of stuff from her website, background info, what her workshops are like, blog posts, all sorts of things.
And what are we hoping to uncover in all of this?
Well, think of it as a crash course in her approach to leadership, how to unlock your potential, become a better, more effective leader. I think it's something we all grapple with, right? Like that feeling you could be doing more, leading better, or even just finding your voice.
Absolutely. I think that resonates with a lot of people.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And just from skimming through these materials, it really seems like Yvonne has built something very personal.
In what sense?
Well, she's presented as this seasoned leadership development professional, years of nationwide experience across diverse industries.
Right, the standard resume highlights.
But what stood out to me was the emphasis on this kind of, a blend of commanding presence and positive energy, makes you curious about the kind of impact she has when she's actually working with people.
It does. And then there's her strap line. Be the change you wish to see. Your passion is your power.
Catchy.
It is. And it really suggests that her work goes beyond just external strategies and tactics.
Yeah.
It's about tapping into something deeper within individuals.
Totally. It's like she's saying that real leadership comes from this authentic place fueled by, what truly drives you. Not about trying to fit into some predefined mold, but finding your own source of power.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And her About Me page, it kind of sheds light on how she arrived at this philosophy.
Oh, how so?
Well, first off, 20 years in leadership training and mentoring, that's a serious commitment. It shows real dedication.
For sure.
But what surprised me was where it all started. High-end ladies fashion retail.
Really? That's unexpected.
Right. You wouldn't necessarily think of that as a breeding ground for leadership development.
Makes you wonder what she learned from that environment.
Absolutely. Maybe it taught her a lot about understanding people, influence, even branding, building a loyal following, all those things.
Interesting point. It challenges the assumption that leadership experience only comes from, the traditional corporate world.
Exactly. And then she shares this really human part of her story, experiencing redundancy 12 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah. And she talks about feeling lost for quite a while. Until about 3 years ago.
That's a significant period of uncertainty.
It is. And for you, I'm curious, what does that kind of personal experience, going through something like that, what does it say about her approach to leadership development?
Well, I think it suggests a level of empathy and understanding for people who are, in transition or feeling a bit lost in their careers. She's been there. So it's not just theoretical knowledge, it's lived experience.
It makes sense.
Kind of makes you wonder how this experience specifically shapes her mentoring programs.
That's a good question. Maybe we'll find some clues as we dig deeper. So speaking of programs, let's look at the core services she offers.
Okay.
She outlines 3 main categories. Leadership coaching, which is that personalized one-on-one support. Then there's mentoring programs offering more strategic guidance. And finally, training and development for individuals and teams. Seems pretty comprehensive.
It does. And she mentions associate training services as well. Hints at a broader network and capacity to handle more specialized needs.
Right, like she can bring in other experts if needed. But the common thread running through it all seems to be this people-oriented coaching methodology focused on maximizing individual potential. What does that people-oriented bit tell us, do you think?
Well, I imagine it means she prioritizes really understanding individual motivations, strengths, challenges, not just applying a cookie cutter approach.
Yeah, more tailored, more empathetic. And then there's the bit about her experience across diverse industries that reinforces her adaptability. She's seen a lot of different situations, can draw on a wider range of examples.
For sure. And the mention of a proven track record of enhancing outcomes and meeting business goals, that adds credibility.
Totally. Shows her approach actually gets results. And for someone thinking about working with her, the fact that she emphasizes customized development plans would be a big draw.
Yeah, it shows she's willing to put in the time to understand their specific needs, their context.
Absolutely. Now, one thing that really caught my eye was her Finding Your Voice workshops, specifically for women.
That's interesting.
Yeah, creating a space for women to address the challenges they face in speaking up, being heard. The description talks about online workshops designed to empower women to speak up, be heard, and make a difference. And that emphasis on a safe space to empower and inspire each other, I think that's really key.
It is. Often there are unique challenges women face in leadership roles, societal factors, systemic factors, all sorts of things that can make it harder to express themselves, assert themselves.
Right. And having that dedicated space can provide a level of support and understanding that might be missing in a mixed setting.
Absolutely. And it ties back to that core theme we discussed earlier.
It does. Unlock your potential and find your unique voice. And then there's a community aspect. Connect with like-minded women and embark on a journey of self-discovery. That's powerful.
It is. It's not just about individual skill development, but about building a network, sharing experiences. That can be incredibly empowering.
Okay, let's move on to her blog now. There's a post about her vision board and the power of choice that I found really interesting.
What stood out to you about it?
Well, she connects her personal experience of creating a vision board after her redundancy with this idea of choice becoming like a central theme for her.
So it's almost like a deliberate shift in mindset.
Yeah, exactly. Moving from feeling like things were happening to her to actively shaping her own destiny. It makes you wonder, how often do we really acknowledge that power of choice in our own leadership journeys?
It's a good question. I mean, she even talks about feeling lost for a while. So that realization of the power of choice must have been even more impactful. Like, leadership isn't just about external achievements. It's also about that internal shift.
Right. Recognizing your agency even when things are tough. And then she talks about self-confidence. But what's interesting is she frames it as a practical skill.
Not just something you either have or you don't.
Right. And she brings back her strapline here. Be the change you wish to see. Your passion is your power. How do you see that connecting to self-confidence?
Well, by linking it to passion, she's suggesting that belief in yourself isn't just this vague feeling, but something that grows when you're aligned with what truly motivates you.
So it's about that internal conviction.
Yeah, and less about seeking validation from others. It makes you think about how you can actively cultivate self-confidence through the things you're passionate about.
Exactly. It becomes this muscle you can build. You know, when you're driven by passion, maybe the fear of failure shrinks a bit and you're more willing to take risks, which then builds confidence.
It's a much more empowering way to think about it.
Now, her piece on imposter syndrome was really thought-provoking. She says she has mixed feelings about the term.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and she even mentions that it wasn't something she really experienced until later in her career in her leadership development work.
So it wasn't always there.
Right, which I think challenges the idea that it's something you automatically grow out of, or that it's only for people early in their careers. I mean, here's someone with her level of experience, and she's still grappling with these feelings.
It definitely adds nuance to the conversation. Like, maybe our understanding of imposter syndrome is too limited.
Exactly. It shows that self-doubt can be this persistent thing, even as you become more successful.
It's human. It's ongoing.
Okay, so Yvonne also shares some quotes that she finds inspiring. There's one from Kit Moore. I'll get where I'm going because I know where I've been. What leadership lesson do you think she takes from that?
Well, I think it's about the value of experience. You know, reflecting on your journey, both the good and the bad, understanding that everything you've been through has shaped who you are as a leader.
It makes sense. Your past isn't just something to leave behind. It's like a compass.
Exactly. It informs where you're going.
And then there's this Walt Disney quote about ideas. It says, the way to get started is to quit talking and begin doing. And then, all our dreams can come true if we have the courage to pursue them. And finally, we keep moving forward, opening new doors and doing new things because we're curious and curiosity keeps leading us down new paths.
That's a lot packed into one quote.
It is. But it really speaks to this idea of vision, of taking action, of having the courage to go after what you want, and the importance of curiosity, that constant desire to learn and grow.
Yeah, like leadership isn't just about maintaining things as they are. It's about pushing boundaries, exploring new possibilities.
Absolutely. And having the belief that you can actually make those dreams a reality.
For sure. That belief is crucial.
Okay, and finally, we've got some client testimonials. Always good to hear directly from people who've worked with her.
Definitely. And the feedback here is really positive. There's this recurring theme of feeling at ease with Yvonne, of feeling understood. And people talk about significant improvements in their confidence, being able to tackle those deep-seated insecurities.
Yeah, there's one from Claire Murphy who says she felt like Yvonne saw her from a different, more helpful perspective. And Jackie Morrell talks about how her confidence in herself and her business has improved hugely. That's pretty powerful.
It is. And then you've got feedback from a group of council members and Kath Gruber talking about well-organized, effective events. Shows she can deliver for larger organizations too.
Right. Her professionalism and organizational skills shine through. And Raquel Ramos Fraga specifically mentions Yvonne's empathy, her professionalism, and how helpful her resources were. Again, that personal connection and practical support.
It paints a really positive picture.
It does. So to wrap up, I think what we see in Yvonne's leadership development is this real focus on personalized growth, empowering people to find their voice, and particularly empowering women, and this emphasis on self-awareness and taking action.
Absolutely. And her own journey, with all the ups and downs, it clearly informs her work. And there's this consistent message about taking that first step, making that choice.
So thinking about that, what's one small action you could take today to unlock a bit more of your own potential?
Yvonne's story shows us that even when things seem off track, those detours can lead to amazing new paths. So what's that opportunity, that crack in the door that might be appearing in your life right now? Maybe exploring Yvonne's website further could help you spot it.
Great advice. Thanks for joining me for this deep dive.
My pleasure.